that sudden, chilling weight settling deep within your core. It often arrives unannounced, perhaps in the dead of night or during a moment of quiet stillness. A profound unease whispering questions that loom larger than everyday worries. Questions about purpose, about the vastness of existence and your place within it all. It's a feeling both deeply personal and strangely universal, a tremor that shakes the foundations of assumed certainty. This isn't mere sadness or stress, it's something more fundamental. You might try to push it away, distract yourself with the noise of the world, yet it lingers beneath the surface. This pervasive sense of angst, this existential dread, what if it's not a sign of something broken within you? What if instead it's an echo of something profoundly true about the human condition itself? A signal that you are beginning to awaken to the deeper, sometimes unsettling, realities of being alive, conscious, and finite in an immense, indifferent cosmos. For centuries, the greatest philosophical minds haven't just acknowledged this feeling. They've dissected it, wrestled with it, and perhaps surprisingly, found within it not just despair but potential. They discovered that understanding the roots of this dread offers not an escape route, but a map. A map towards navigating existence with greater clarity, authenticity, and even a strange kind of freedom. Thinkers like Kierkegaard saw it as the dizzying awareness of our own boundless freedom. Sartre identified it as the terrifying weight of absolute responsibility for who we become. Camus stared into the abyss of a silent universe and found, not nihilism, but a call to rebellion. These aren't just abstract theories. They are direct responses to the very feeling that might be stirring within you right now. They offer perspectives that reframe dread from a paralyzing fear into a potential catalyst. So what truly is this deep, unsettling feeling about existence itself? Why does it surface? And more importantly, how can we confront it without being consumed? Is it possible to harness this existential angst, not just to cope, but to forge a more authentic and purposeful life? The journey into these questions begins now, exploring the nature of dread and the profound philosophical tools available to navigate its depths. Stay with us as we uncover these vital insights. Let's first define this term, existential dread, or its close cousin, angst. It's not generalized anxiety about upcoming events or specific worries. It's a deeper, more fundamental sense of unease, anxiety, or disorientation that arises when we confront the core conditions of human existence itself. One of these givens is freedom. We possess a radical freedom to choose our actions, our values, even our essence. Unlike objects with predetermined functions, humans define themselves through their choices. This sounds liberating, but the sheer weight of infinite possibility, the lack of preordained paths or guaranteed outcomes, can induce a profound sense of vertigo or dizziness. A key component of dread recognized by early existential thinkers, revealing the burden hidden within liberation. Hand in hand with freedom comes responsibility. If we are free to choose, we are inescapably responsible for those choices and their consequences. We are, as Jean-Paul Sartre famously put it, condemned to be free. There's no blaming fate, destiny, or a higher power for who we become. This absolute responsibility for creating our own meaning and identity can feel overwhelming, leading to anguish, another facet of existential dread, the heavy burden of authorship over one's own life. Then there is the confrontation with potential meaninglessness. Humans seem naturally inclined to seek purpose, order, and significance in the universe. Yet, from an existential perspective, the universe itself offers no inherent meaning, no pre-written cosmic script. It is silent, vast, and indifferent to our quest. This clash between our innate longing for meaning and the apparent silence of the cosmos creates a tension known as the absurd, a profound source of unease and disorientation. We also face fundamental isolation. Despite our connections with others, there's an unbridgeable gap between individual consciousnesses. We are born alone, die alone, and ultimately experience the world from within our own subjective awareness. No one can truly know our inner world completely. Finally, and perhaps most potently, there is the awareness of death and finitude. We are beings aware of our own mortality. The knowledge that our time is limited, that everything we build and cherish will eventually end, casts a long shadow over existence. This awareness can trigger deep anxiety about oblivion, the loss of self, and the potential ultimate insignificance of our lives in the face of inevitable cessation. It forces us to confront the preciousness and precariousness of our time. So, existential dread isn't necessarily a symptom of mental illness, though it can certainly coexist or exacerbate such conditions. Rather, philosophers argue it's an authentic response to grappling with these fundamental truths of being human. It signals that we are moving beyond superficial concerns and engaging with the deeper structures of reality. It's the friction generated when our finite, meaning-seeking consciousness rubs against the vast, indifferent machinery of existence itself. Let's delve into how specific thinkers viewed this angst. The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, often considered the father of existentialism, explored dread, angst, primarily in relation to freedom. He described it as the dizziness of freedom. When we stand before the infinite possibilities of what we could do or become, without any guaranteed path, we experience a kind of terrifying vertigo. It's the realization of our capacity to choose, including the potential to choose wrongly or fail. For Kierkegaard, this dread isn't something to be eliminated but understood. It's the prerequisite for a leap of faith. Faced with uncertainty and the anxiety of freedom, we must make committed choices, particularly regarding faith or ethical life, without absolute proof or guarantee. Dread reveals our spiritual dimension, our non-determined nature. Moving to the 20th century, Jean-Paul Sartre offered a starker view of existential anguish. For Sartre, an atheist existentialist, anguish stems directly from the recognition of our radical freedom and total responsibility. Since existence precedes essence, we are born as nothing, a blank slate, and must create our own nature through our choices. There's no divine plan or human nature to guide us or excuse our actions. Sartre believed this realization causes anguish because when we choose for ourselves, we are implicitly choosing for all humanity. By deciding what is valuable or right for us, we are setting an example, creating an image of humankind as we believe it ought to be. This universal responsibility is a heavy burden. We are legislators for humanity with every action we take. Albert Camus, another key figure though he rejected the existentialist label, focused on the feeling arising from confronting the absurd. The absurd, for Camus, is the divorce between humanity's passionate search for meaning and rational order and the unreasonable silence of the world. It's the feeling of being a stranger in an alien landscape, longing for connection and significance in a universe that offers neither intrinsically. This mismatch is the source of a specific kind of existential ache. Camus argued that the absurd isn't in us or in the world alone, but in their confrontation. It's like recognizing you're shouting questions into an empty room. The feeling isn't necessarily despair, but a clear-sighted recognition of our condition. He famously used the myth of Sisyphus, condemned to eternally push a boulder uphill only for it to roll down again, as a metaphor for the human situation. The task is pointless, yet Sisyphus finds meaning in the struggle itself. These perspectives converge on a crucial point. Existential dread, angst, or the feeling of the absurd are not errors in thinking or emotional malfunctions. They are potential consequences of lucidly confronting the fundamental parameters of human existence: our freedom, our responsibility, our isolation, our mortality, and our place in a silent cosmos. They arise when the comforting illusions or distractions fall away, forcing us to see the raw structure beneath everyday life. Why do these feelings surface more strongly at certain times or for certain people? Often, it's triggered by major life events, loss, significant transitions, confrontation with mortality, our own or others, or even moments of great success that surprisingly feel empty. It can also arise from periods of deep reflection, solitude, or questioning societal norms and values. Essentially, anything that disrupts our routine immersion in the world can open the door to these deeper existential questions. It's crucial to understand that experiencing this dread is not inherently negative. While uncomfortable, even painful, existential philosophy reframes it as a potential catalyst for positive change. It's an invitation to live more consciously, more authentically. Ignoring or suppressing these feelings might provide temporary relief, but it often leads to a life lived in bad faith. Sartre's term for self-deception, avoiding the truths of our condition and thus failing to live fully. So, how do we constructively engage with this existential dread? The goal isn't to eliminate it entirely. That might be impossible or even undesirable, as it signifies awareness. Instead, the aim is to integrate this awareness into our lives in a way that fosters meaning, purpose, and authenticity, transforming the potential paralysis of dread into fuel for living deliberately and passionately, fully embracing the human condition in all its complexity. The first philosophical strategy is to embrace freedom. Recognize that the dread Kierkegaard described, the dizziness of infinite possibilities, is actually the sign of your fundamental liberty. Instead of being paralyzed by choice, see it as the open space required to create yourself. Acknowledge the fear, but lean into it. Use the awareness of freedom not as a burden, but as the very power that allows you to define your own path and values. Embracing freedom means accepting the accompanying responsibility Sartre highlighted. Stop looking for external validation or pre-written scripts for your life. Own your choices, fully and consciously. This acceptance doesn't magically remove the weight, but it transforms it from a source of anguish into a source of dignity. You become the author of your own existence, a difficult but ultimately empowering position to occupy in the world. The second strategy, create subjective value and meaning. If the universe provides no inherent meaning, then meaning is not something to be found, but something to be created. Engage passionately in projects, relationships, work, art, or causes that resonate deeply with you. These pursuits provide subjective meaning, meaning for you, which is the only kind of meaning truly available to us. Dread recedes when we are absorbed in activities we ourselves deem valuable. This creation of value is intensely personal. What provides meaning for one person may not for another. It requires self-reflection to identify what truly matters to you, separate from societal expectations or pressures. Whether it's raising a family, mastering a craft, pursuing knowledge, fighting for justice, or simply cultivating a garden, the commitment and engagement are what imbue the activity with significance, pushing back against the feeling of cosmic irrelevance. The third strategy is to live authentically. This means making choices and living in alignment with your core values and beliefs, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Authenticity requires self-awareness, knowing who you are and what you stand for, and courage, acting consistently with that knowledge. It involves resisting the urge towards bad faith or self-deception, facing uncomfortable truths about yourself and the world rather than hiding behind comforting illusions. Living authentically means taking responsibility for the person you are becoming moment by moment. It involves integrating the awareness of freedom, responsibility, and finitude into your daily life. Each authentic choice, however small, reaffirms your commitment to living genuinely, reducing the dissonance that can fuel existential dread. It's about congruence between your inner self and your outer actions, creating a sense of integrity and purpose grounded in self-knowledge. The fourth strategy comes directly from Camus. Confront the absurd and rebel against it. Acknowledge the clash between your desire for meaning and the universe's silence. Don't despair or seek refuge in false hopes. Instead, rebel by embracing life passionately despite its ultimate lack of inherent purpose. Find joy in the struggle, value the present moment, and live with intensity and defiance against the backdrop of cosmic indifference. This rebellion isn't about changing the universe. It's about changing our relationship to it. It's about saying yes to life in its totality, including its absurdity and limitations. Love, create, experience, feel deeply, not because it will last forever or has cosmic significance, but precisely because it won't and doesn't. This lucid affirmation of life, lived fully in the face of the void, is the ultimate existential defiance and a powerful antidote to nihilistic despair. The fifth strategy addresses existential isolation. Cultivate genuine connection. While ultimate separateness may be a fact of consciousness, genuine relationships can profoundly mitigate feelings of loneliness and alienation. Seek authentic connections based on empathy, mutual respect, and shared vulnerability. Sharing our fears, hopes, and existential concerns with trusted others can make the burden feel less solitary, reminding us we are part of a shared human struggle. This isn't just about socializing. It's about creating bonds where you feel seen, understood, and accepted for who you truly are, including your doubts and anxieties. Philosopher Martin Buber spoke of the I-thou relationship, a mode of relating where we encounter the other person in their full humanity, rather than as an object, it. Cultivating such deep, authentic encounters anchors us in the world and provides a powerful counterweight to existential isolation. Integrating these strategies isn't a one-time fix but an ongoing practice. Existential questions may resurface throughout life. However, armed with these philosophical perspectives, you can meet them not with panic but with curiosity and courage. You can learn to recognize dread as a signal to reassess your choices, reaffirm your values, deepen your engagement with life, and strengthen your connections. It becomes less of an enemy and more of a challenging guide. Consider the awareness of mortality. Instead of letting it paralyze you with fear, let it clarify your priorities. Knowing time is finite can motivate you to stop postponing what truly matters, to live more fully in the present, and to appreciate the preciousness of each moment and relationship. Finite time gives life urgency and value. As philosopher Heidegger suggested, authentic existence involves confronting our being towards death and letting it inform how we live now. Embracing these existential truths requires courage. It means letting go of the need for absolute certainty, guaranteed meaning, or permanent security. Comforts the universe doesn't seem structured to provide. It involves accepting ambiguity and living bravely within the questions, rather than demanding simple answers. This courage isn't fearlessness, but the willingness to act and affirm life despite fear and uncertainty, finding strength in lucidity itself. Existential dread, therefore, can be seen as a threshold. On one side lies evasion, distraction, and perhaps a comfortable but ultimately unfulfilling life lived in bad faith. On the other side lies the challenging path of awareness, authenticity, and responsibility. Crossing this threshold means accepting the human condition in its fullness, the freedom, the limits, the absurdity, the potential for meaning, and choosing to live deliberately within that reality. Ultimately, the confrontation with existential dread invites a profound shift in perspective. It moves us from passively existing to actively living. It encourages us to become the artists of our own lives, sculpting meaning and purpose from the raw, sometimes difficult material of existence. The unease becomes less a symptom to be cured and more a reminder of the stakes involved, the single, precious, finite life we each have the opportunity to shape. In summary, existential dread is the deep unease arising from confronting fundamental human realities: freedom, responsibility, meaninglessness, isolation, and death. Philosophers like Kierkegaard, Sartre, and Camus analyzed this angst not as pathology, but as an authentic response to the human condition. Their insights reveal dread as a potential catalyst for deeper self-understanding and more conscious living, rather than merely a burden to be endured or suppressed. We've explored constructive philosophical strategies for navigating this dread, embracing freedom and responsibility, actively creating subjective meaning through engagement, striving for authentic living aligned with personal values, confronting the absurd with rebellious affirmation of life, and cultivating genuine connections to combat isolation. These are not easy answers, but powerful tools for transforming dread from a paralyzing force into a motivator for a richer, more deliberate existence. The core message is one of empowerment through acceptance. By acknowledging the uncomfortable truths of existence rather than fleeing from them, we gain the clarity needed to live more purposefully. Existential dread, paradoxically, can illuminate the path toward a life rich with self-chosen meaning, authentic action, passionate engagement, and profound connection. It nudges us awake from the slumber of unexamined life, urging us to consciously participate in the art of living. This journey into existential thought doesn't promise constant happiness or the elimination of all discomfort. Life remains complex, uncertain, and finite. What it offers is resilience, perspective, and a framework for finding dignity and meaning within those very conditions. It suggests that a meaningful life isn't one free from struggle, but one where we consciously engage with the struggle, armed with awareness and committed to our chosen values. So the next time that familiar weight settles in your chest, that unsettling question echoes in the quiet, perhaps don't rush to push it away. Pause, acknowledge it, recognize it not as an enemy but as a profound reminder of your freedom, your capacity to create, and the preciousness of the present moment. Ask yourself, in the face of these truths, how do I choose to live? Consider your current projects, relationships, and daily routines. Are they aligned with the values you'd consciously choose if reminded of life's finitude and your radical freedom? Where might you be living in bad faith, avoiding responsibility or uncomfortable truths? Existential awareness isn't just for philosophers. It's a practical tool for self-examination and course correction, guiding us toward a life that feels truly our own, deeply resonant despite external uncertainties. Engaging with these ideas can be demanding, requiring sustained reflection and sometimes uncomfortable honesty. Yet, the potential reward is immense, a life lived with greater depth, purpose, and appreciation. It's the difference between drifting passively through existence and actively steering your course, fully awake to the challenges and possibilities inherent in the human condition. This awakening, prompted by dread, can ultimately be profoundly liberating. The exploration of existential dread isn't about finding definitive answers that erase the questions. Instead, it's about learning to live well with the questions, finding meaning not in final certainty, but in the ongoing process of choosing, creating, connecting, and affirming life in the face of its inherent mysteries and limitations. The journey itself, lived authentically, becomes the destination. Remember Camus's Sisyphus. The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. This happiness isn't ignorant bliss, but the profound satisfaction found in embracing one's fate, however absurd, and living it with passion and integrity. It's the defiant joy of existence asserted against the silence of the universe, a meaning forged in the heart of meaninglessness itself, through conscious effort and engagement. So we are left not with a solution that eliminates dread, but with a perspective that transforms it. Existential angst becomes a compass, pointing towards the areas in our lives that require attention, authenticity, and courageous engagement. It calls us to wake up, take the helm, and navigate our existence with purpose, even amidst the vast and silent ocean of being. The feeling itself contains the seed of its own transcendence through conscious action. What aspects of freedom, responsibility, meaning, connection, or finitude resonate most strongly with your own experiences of unease? Reflecting on this can pinpoint where the philosophical tools we've discussed might be most effectively applied in your own life. Perhaps it's embracing a daunting choice, committing more fully to a creative project, mending a relationship, or simply appreciating the present moment with renewed intensity. The wisdom of existential philosophy endures because it speaks directly to these timeless human concerns. It offers no easy comfort, but instead, the profound dignity of facing reality clear-eyed and choosing to live meaningfully within it. It empowers us to move beyond fear and paralysis, towards a life defined by conscious choice, authentic engagement, and courageous affirmation of our transient yet precious existence. This is the challenging, yet ultimately rewarding path it illuminates. How will you choose to respond the next time the shadow of existential dread touches your awareness? Will you turn away, seeking distraction? Or will you pause, acknowledge its message, and use it as fuel to live more deliberately, more authentically, more fully? The choice, like so much in existence, rests ultimately with you. Thank you for joining this exploration into the depths of the human condition.